Every part is important, Damien.
So Jason, welcome back to the Construction Manager Podcast. It's been a while, right? We took a break.
It feels really good.
It does feel really good.
It does. It's good to see your stupid face.
Because we kind of took I don't want to say an accidental break, but we just with everything with the holidays and relocating and things like that, we just kind of took an impromptu break from recording shows.
Right. I mean, you want to talk about like what got in our way a little bit? I mean, I think it's fair to the listeners who have listened to our podcasts 155,000 times. That's no big deal. I mean,
just one dude that's listened to him 100.
Just one dude. It's Damien Edwards is his name. No, but we have gone through some shifts in our professional lives here recently.
Yep. Actually, I think it's super relevant to talk about it.
No, it's very relevant, and it's kind of what we were talking about discussing today. I'm going into this unexpectedly, but Damien has gotten a promotion and is a national level director of construction, and what has that been like for you so far, transitioning from running a group of construction people and managing your own communities? What's that like?
It's kind of eye-opening, to be totally honest with you, to go from like my own little world and to have it expand like nationally has been super eye-opening, because you get to see kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything. And it really shows the different levels of construction management and professionalism. And it's pretty awesome, to be totally honest with you. It's a pretty awesome experience to be able to see such a broad cross-section of the construction industry.
You feel like it puts a lot of the stuff you were doing in perspective a little bit? I mean, 100%. As far as like, yeah.
100%. It's funny. I had a guy tell me once, I'll share this story with you real quick. When I was coaching lacrosse all the time, he said he was constantly trying to get me to join the local chapter of US Lacrosse, the board, as a board member. And he would say to me, "Hey, how many people are you coaching today?" And I'd say, "Oh, I've got 22 on the team." And he'd say, "So as a coach, you can affect 22 players, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, you sit on the board, you can affect 2,200 players." And I never got it. I was always like, whatever, until I took the position on the board. And then I realized I was able to affect hundreds, if not thousands of players with the decisions I made and with mentoring. And this job is kind of the same thing. Instead of just affecting a few players I've got on my team locally, I can affect, hundreds, if not thousands of players nationally. So it's been pretty awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. But you got the same thing going on, man. You got a promotion. You went from being the big fish in a little pond to being a little fish in a huge pond.
Something like that.
You're taking over the world, dude. And I think it's freaking badass. How's your promotion going?
It's going good. Relocation to Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a real like kind of ground up build of a production home building operation. It was an existing operation there, but we're hiring folks and kind of establishing some guidelines and rules, if for lack of a better term. And
you're working on some badass projects,
right? It's the products are so great, and the process that we get there, how we get to that final product is still kind of in its infancy as far as like what I'm used to. So it's kind of, for me, it's been great, because even though it's a step up and a step forward for me, it's also like a back to basics type of scenario where we have to go back and look at the nuts and bolts of our process. And that's what we're working on right now. So,
I will tell you. So I feel like that you just nailed it. So going back to the nuts and bolts. So we get so complicated, right? If we're moving along our career, and we're like, oh, this new system and that new system, and we tend to overcomplicate things as a people sometimes. And when it comes down to it, it's the nuts and bolts that never change. It's those principles of whether it's leadership, whether it's construction or whatever. It's the nuts and bolts, the basic principles that are rock solid no matter what changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I agree with you, man. It's, the product and the place and the number of people and the scope might change, but the principles never do, right? I mean, you always are going to have to, set up a good plan and tell everyone that's going to be involved about your plan. And, once you start rolling out the first phase of your plan, hold everybody to the expectations that you've set. I mean, it goes for all different types of jobs. I'm sure I only really know this one, but it's the same stuff, and it's just trying to organize it and keep everybody feeling good about it.
So that kind of goes into what we're talking about today, right? So we were talking about this earlier. So I know when you took your new role, and same thing with me, I had to look at my skill set and say, okay, this is where I am today. What do I need to do? How can I improve myself so that I am a better, version of me personally, so that I can be a better version of me professionally, because I'm affecting other people, and I need to be top of my game to make sure that I'm mentoring other people so that they can be at the top of their game as well. Right. So, and that's what we're talking about, man. Kind of how to take ourselves to the next level. And if I can digress just a little bit. So we've talked about in the Construction Manager podcast, you and I have run the gamut. We have talked about all kinds of stuff, right? Safety, site control, theft. We've talked about scheduling,
relationships, learning.
Yeah. What kind of beer we like.
Yeah, we talk about that. It's true.
But now, in order to kind of get to the next level, right? We have to. I'm sure you're doing it. I'm doing it. We have to look inward and say, okay, I've taken another step in my career. How do I get to the next step? What skill set do I need? How do I improve? So, over the next couple of podcasts, we're going to be talking about self-reflection, self-improvement, kind of the steps that go into it. And how do we advance ourselves personally so that we can advance ourselves professionally, particularly in construction, because it's demanding.
Right. Well, I always say that, how you set yourself up in your personal life, whether it be your vehicle or your commute or your schedule when you're off, those things directly translate to your professional career, right? I mean, to your scenario each week. In construction, I don't know about everybody listening, but I just got the notification that I will be not rolling over X amount of sick hours or vacation time. Because when you're in this business, it's like being sick doesn't just stink because you're sick. It stinks because you have 10 times as much work to do when you're not sick.
Yeah.
Like
when you get back.
Yeah, I know. But just managing your time and figuring out those things that, spending the time on the job and making it effective, and not just spinning your wheels while you're there. I see that from time to time. I think being organized and having, the right outlook professionally, it directly stems from how you set yourself up personally. So you always talk about self-help. You gotta write a terrible book about self-help one day. I'm sure it'll be medium.
Well, let me ask you a question. So let's when you got your promotion, was there a moment when you took a step back and like doubted yourself and said, am I even the right guy for this? Can I do this job?
Without question. And then I looked him right in the eye and I said, I'm the right guy for this. And I was like, okay, you believe it? Good.
So so talk to me about that process, man. What did you talk to me, so, like, walk us through that process, and then walk us through the process. Because I assume at one point, oh my God, my dog needs to shut the F up.
I hear there's
um,
some folks walking into the model I'm sitting in right now, just outside the door, waiting for it to open at any moment. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
yeah. So, um,
What was it like for me? My scenario was probably had some compounding factors, right? I mean, my scenario was we've got this thing, we think we need you, we'd like you to come check it out, see if it's a good fit for you. It means you have to uproot your entire life and family and change everything.
stuff.
Um, and it's a great opportunity. It's a department head position, and I'm extremely thankful for it. And it's evident that it was a position that was greatly needed, right? I mean, just organizing from the next level up is something that we are in desperate need of. But yeah, of course, I had self doubt. You get comfortable in your own scenario, and if you get promoted, I mean, we've joked about this before. While you're an assistant, you're like, this is bullshit. They should be promoting me already, and I deserve it. And then they give you your promotion. You're like, oh shit, I don't know anything, and everybody feels like that, right? And I felt like that a little bit. I'm building some different products that I've built before, but I haven't done in a while, and some of it's a little different than I'm used to. I'll tell you, the terminology down here is very different. They call everything something different. Sometimes they look at me screwy, and I'm like, oh, it's not foundation drains. It's drain tile where I'm from. That's a good example of it. And
Okay.
um, so
Just
yeah,
tell them they're wrong. Just tell them they're wrong about everything.
right. Neither of them's wrong. I'm just saying there's different like redneck terminology that you use on a job site. But the truth is, like, once you overcome that and you just get your feet wet and you start writing notes down, you realize none of these projects are very different from each other. They all have the same challenges. So the truth is, you got to have the courage to do it. To believe in yourself, to put yourself in it.
So let me just back that up a little bit. So when you're um, evaluating your current position, was there a time when you sat there and you said, okay, I know what my current skill set is. What do I need to do this job? What do I need? What additional skills am I going to need to do this job? And if there was, what was the steps you took or are taking to gain those skills?
Right. Yeah, I can answer that. Like, more, I didn't, there were so many things that were unknown to me. Like, I was accustomed to a certain structure and a process with people I was comfortable with. I know, working for 17 years in Virginia, you know who to call when you have an issue. You know your products in and out, right? I mean, you studied those plans from their inception all the way to their first closings and beyond. Um, so part of the thing that I did when I got here initially was ask a ton of questions and take a ton of notes. My whole
Yeah.
mentality was I'm going to soak it up like a sponge while I'm in my first phase. Um, I'm still kind of in my first phase. I'd like to provide some suggestions, some guidance for guys, which I am. But I mean, really, my first step to all of it was gathering it up. I didn't know what the hurdles were. I need to go see what they are and start, categorizing how I'm going to get there. Some of the things that, the first thing I realized is that we need to, to increase our scheduling accuracy. So that's something that we're working hard on and trying to figure out our municipalities and what that's going to require. So I don't want to go into all the details with it, but the first thing I did was come in and gather information and try to form a plan. And really, we're only a couple of weeks into this thing. So, me trying to explain it like I've got it all figured out now would be a lie because that's not the truth.
How about from a personal? So I know that when I stepped into my new role, I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to be talking to people from all over the place, strangers essentially. I was like, I need to work on communication skills. I was like, I know I need to, because I mean, I can't just walk on the job site and F.
Well, it's taken you this far.
I know. Well, that's true. So, but I was like, I have to, because I wrote down, I was like, and I'm a big note taker and I write a lot of shit down. And I was like, okay, here's where I think my skill sets are. This is what I'm good at. What am I going to need? And I was like, I need to increase my ability to speak to people that I don't know, and at all different levels of management, from
Right.
top tier executives.
Yeah, because you're reporting to the top guys in the company.
Right. So I'm like, I need to be able to communicate well. And I was like, what else do I need? I need corporate finance, because I don't know shit about accounting. I know overheads and stuff, job site stuff, but I need more than that. So I started making a list of everything I thought I was weak at. And it was hard, man, because I'm like, I kind of know that. Maybe I won't put that on the list. And I'm like, do I really know that? And I would listen to like a podcast on corporate finance. I'm like, is that guy talking Chinese? So I like literally wrote down a set of skills that I think I need to improve on. And I started diving into it. I got this book right here on leadership. It's a book I read, got to be 12 years ago. But I'm like, I'm going out of, I'm meeting new people. I need to be the leader that they want me to be, that they think I'm going to be. So, I kind of took a deep dive inward and thought about everything I wasn't good at and everywhere I lacked. And I'm like, I need to sharpen these skills. And I'll be honest with you, this is kind of tough. It's tough to, especially when we walk around all confident, and then you start kind of dissecting yourself, and it's not easy. It's not an easy process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I also say that, we talk about personal development and how it translates to professional development here. Personally, I realize that I have a family that I'm going to be dragging through with this process, and eventually we'll be settled in, and eventually we'll all feel comfortable in our own home and our own skin and our own jobs. Right. And schools. I mean, let's not leave my kids out. And so I realized what I had to be first off was positive, right? I mean, have to be encouraging and positive and highlight the things that the reasons why it's going to be great, and see what we can do, find out what are the hot buttons and how can we, make them easier on my family. My family was a big, important part of this. The good part is that I've got a very supportive wife, and, my son is totally thrilled, and my daughter is like, hate my guts, but she'll come around too, and she's already come around. I exaggerate.
Well, I think you hit on it. I think you really hit on something, that's mindset, right? So in construction, we're nomadic, right? We have to go to where the work is. When I had a commute that was under an hour, I was like, yay, look at me. I'm only driving an hour.
Part of your life back.
Yeah. But when you're in construction, you're a nomad. You go to where the work is. You don't go to a set office every day. And I think you nailed it. Keeping that positive outlook is key. And that's really any profession, but particularly in construction, because it's such a high stress job, I think keeping that positive outlook and that mindset is the key to success. I mean, that's 90% of it, I think.
Right. I do. I think this makes me feel a little guilty. Your questions about self-help and the fact that you're like reading books and stuff. I feel like you're like light years ahead of me. In my defense, you took your job a long time ago, at least in my perspective.
Well, I think that, and this goes true for like, if you're an assistant construction manager and you want to make the leap to construction manager, you need to have a mindset, a growth mindset that says, if I want to take the next step, I need to seek out the information that I don't currently know. And you need to take a real hard look at your current skill set and say, this is where I want to be. How am I going to get there? What are the traits that those people have that I don't have? And how do I get them?
Sure.
And for me, it's a lot of training. I'm constantly looking, I'm constantly reading books and stuff like that. I mean, I'm getting older, so the print is getting bigger. I have to get big, large print books. So like a pamphlet now looks like a novel because it's like one word per page.
They made this. It's good. My eyes are so good.
My eyes are no good. None. They're as bad as my hearing now. I hate it, dude. I was with Gina the other day, and she was like, she handed me a dog collar, and she goes, "Hey, read this and tell me if we got rabies and portobello or whatever it is." That's mushroom, but whatever the other thing, whatever the other thing is. And I took it and I looked at it, and I'm like, I'm out. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what this is.
That's all I got. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so over the course of the next, couple of months, we're going to put out some podcasts, and we're going to do a deep dive into personal development, because personal development leads to professional development. And that's what, we can talk about sticks and bricks all day long, but I think we are doing our listeners a real injustice if we don't take a deep dive into what it takes to really improve ourselves and change our mindset, so we have a positive, growth oriented mindset to take us to the next level.
Right.
So
a couple of key words that we had discussed earlier. We talked about self-reflection quite a bit.
Yep.
Really looking at yourself and deciding where you're at mentally, what kind of organizational skills do you have or need, where are you in your life, and how do you feel about it, and how do people around you feel, right? And I think the next one is, critical thinking about, you said, what things you actually need to get to where you want to be, wherever that is, even if it's just critical thinking about this week or this month, or where you want to be, as far as like your professional scenario, whatever that is, your relationships with the people you work with, or your output, thinking critically about that. And another thing that we discussed was stress. And we've talked about stress. We've done whole podcasts on stress on the job site and what does it mean. I think that, dealing with stress is something that's not just something that you can do between your working hours. Yeah. Dealing with stress is like a lifestyle type of adjustment or analysis. For me, I got down here, I started at the beginning of January, so I got 20 some days under my belt now. And I worked 7 days a week for the first 2 weeks. And then I flew home and spent a weekend there, really looking forward to sleeping in my own bed. Realized I had 5 painters painting the house I'm trying to sell. I stayed in a hotel for 2 nights. And when I came back, did you really stay in a hotel for 2 nights? Yes, we stayed in a hotel in Virginia for 2 nights because everything in my house was in the center of the room and covered in plastic.
That sucks.
So yeah, but it needed to get done, and we're on the right timeline there. So despite the fact that was stressful, it checked a box, and we both were able to, deal with it. My kids don't care. They don't care where we are or what we're doing. They're like, we're going to our friend's house. Awesome. But dealing with my stress, when I got back, it wasn't, I was glad to see my family, but I came back to the same workload, and I went back to 7 days, at least half of Sunday also working, and working really long hours too, and still feeling like I'm spinning my wheels a little bit, and it's stressful. And I got to last weekend, and I was like, both the last 2 weeks, I've taken at least some time and said, all right, from this period to that period, like last Saturday, I was like, I'm taking today off. I'm not going to open it up. I did only for a little bit in the evening, but I literally, like, I got up in the morning and I was like, I'm not going to flick this on for one day. I've got my stuff under control Friday evening. I'm going to shut it off. I'm a woodsy guy. That I did 6 miles in the woods, doing some scouting and a little bit of fishing. And the whole point was, I got to just let my mind go somewhere else besides jobs and deadlines and, new relationships and all that stuff. And I felt better because of it. I got to be honest. I came back on Monday.
Dude, I guarantee you felt better.
I was fully charged up about the job, and I wasn't pissed off for like 2 or 3 minutes until after I got there. And then I was right back where I was, right back in that construction process.
You know what? And you were probably clear-headed and more focused for having taken the time off.
Yeah. I mean, you've talked about, sharpening your axe. We've talked about that on plenty of podcasts.
Sharpening your saw, but whatever.
Well,
Same difference.
I think you told me that it was a wood chopping story and an axe. And the last time we discussed it, so not my fault, yours. But the truth is, like, you got to give yourself those personal resets, and that's part of the transition from personal to professional development, man. If you're not a healthy minded person in your personal life, the chances of you lasting for a long period of time professionally without starting to slip are slim. I mean,
You got it.
you got to be able to manage those things, and there's a balance. You hear a lot of people that say, I was great professionally, but I wrecked my personal life due to my job. And that's not good either, because that's like I always tell trades that you got to make money when you work here. Because if you're not making money, you're not going to last long. It's kind of the same thing. Like, you got to enjoy it while you're doing it. Otherwise, you're going to crap out fast.
Yep. That's the thing. And there's no people that say that. I do not believe it's sustainable. If you wreck your personal life, drive safe, buddy. If you wreck your personal life, your professional life is right behind it. Because you have a fantastic wife and a fantastic family. I have a fantastic wife and a fantastic family. And if it was not for them, I wouldn't be the professional person that I am. No question.
I'd be living in a tent and working in a body shop.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I'd be in prison. I make lots of bad decisions.
No, I think it's all part of being well-rounded. My dad always talks about being well-rounded and, having your important things and spreading them out evenly. Because if you do too much of any one thing, you're going to have to neglect something else. There's only so much of you.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So that's what listeners have to look forward to. So we're going to, over the next, couple of podcasts, we're going to take a deep dive into holding ourselves personally accountable, critical thinking, stress management, organization.
This is making me it's giving me a whole other list of things I need to do right now.
Good, man. Get to work.
I mean, the truth is, you got to work hard to get to the point where you feel good and you can get your time off and you can do all those things. So organizing yourself in these ways is going to be beneficial. And it's something that while we're doing these next couple of podcasts, I'm going to be doing for myself, because it's important in what I'm doing. I'm going through a huge transition right now.
Yeah.
And, I want to be successful, man. I don't want to just do a job. I want to do a good job.
Amen. And that's the thing, man. We're always talking about professional growth. And if anybody that is interested in professional growth has got to start with themselves. They got to look at themselves personally, put together a plan for them, and go for it. So our next podcast, we're actually going to be talking about how to formulate that plan, how to put it together, and how to take action on it. So Great. Stay tuned. And then once we get through that, we'll start talking about sticks and bricks again.
It's good to record a couple things and try to help some folks.
Amen, brother.
And help myself at the same time, man. I miss this.
Dude, I used to get all shit-faced and tell people all my personal businesses and all my problems. And it was so therapeutic for me. My wife would be like, Jesus, what are you doing? I'm like, I feel great. And she's like, everybody's depressed except for you. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. No.
I had a lady say to me once, she was like, she was talking about her childhood, and she goes,
"Oh, you're really honest."
She goes, "I used to get picked last in gym class," and I was like, "Oh yeah," and then just unloaded on her. And Gina was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I'm like,
"What? Know that person?"
It's like therapy. Anyway, that's all we got for today. But we'll be back soon, and hopefully we can help some folks.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome.